And now, On The Go Media proudly presents Between the Ropes.
Welcome back to Between the Ropes. My name is Hunter Dietz. By my side, as always, Colt Powers. And today, part 2 of our season finale. I don't think we did a very good job promoting that ahead of time, but here we are now. This is going to be our season finale. Next week, we're going to come back for season 2. Things are going to look a little bit different. We're going to kind of have a little bit of a different style, some different aspects to our show. And last week we were talking about our favorite wrestlers, and we went through a lot of them, but we left off on Triple H. Are there any closing thoughts maybe you didn't get out last week about Triple H that you just kind of wanted to say about maybe why he's in your top before we get started with the rest of the list today?
You think I'm going to remember anything from last week?
Good point. Good point.
Tripp's just, one of my all-time favorites. And I think I mentioned it last week where I really turned the corner with him. We had the two-man power trip. He went out with a quad injury, and he came back, I think it was January 4th or 5th, I believe, was at Madison Square Garden when he came back from injury.
Yep.
And, his big return there before WrestleMania 18. And like I said, a fan before that, but I feel like that's where things really took off for me as far as, it was before that. WrestleMania 17 was Trips and The Undertaker. That was a phenomenal match.
That's great stuff.
The
longest ref bump in history.
Yeah. Overall, he's still, to this day, even though he doesn't compete, I still go back and I watch his matches. I still have and read his book that he wrote, his fitness book and stuff. So yeah.
I've even read that one. I'm not the most fit guy on the planet, but I've even read. He talks about throwing away the bun at McDonald's.
Yeah, he's got great stories intertwined with diet and exercise.
He does. So it's funny actually that you mention The Undertaker and Triple H at WrestleMania 17. Obviously, they had 3 WrestleMania matches, some of the best either one of them ever had. And my next guy, he's a USWA. Unified World Heavyweight Champion. WCWA, Texas Heavyweight Champion. And I think the only guy with those 2 accomplishments to also win an NXT Year-End Award. Several other accomplishments. 4-time WWF Champion, World Heavyweight Champion 3 times, Hardcore Champion, Tag Team, WWF and WCW, Royal Rumble winner, in the Hall of Fame now. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. He had a very long streak at WrestleMania, and obviously I'm talking about The Undertaker. The Undertaker makes my list because something about a character like that, and everybody said it, like that character should have been dead in the water.
Oh God! Because
it on paper it is such a dumb character that this guy's dead, but he's not dead, and he
came in at that time where gimmicks and characters were such a big thing, and
yeah.
It was one of those, it could kind of go either way,
yeah.
And it's testament to him and Paul Bearer and, just the creativity that they had to make this character work. And he still says it in his podcast, thank God he didn't come out of the egg.
Thank God he didn't come out of the egg. The Undertaker, from his first television appearance, Survivor Series 1990, just kind of throwing that shock over the crowd of like, we've got all these colorful, we got Coco Beware and Dusty Rhodes, and the $1 Million Man introduces The Undertaker, and it goes quiet. Yeah. And he's this huge, guy, and obviously, like we mentioned, the streak at WrestleMania wound up being 23-2. Just phenomenal commitment to the character, a commitment to the business, and I use the streak as that example because even though he won so many of those matches, how many guys were put over by getting a match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania? I mean, where is Randy Orton? without his Undertaker feud.
Yeah.
And that goes for several guys along that line. I do want to kind of get your thoughts on the Undertaker and kind of his evolution throughout the years. What do you think puts him in the top level?
Well, for one, I was a wrestling fan when he debuted. So being a younger, kid, I think when he debuted, I think I was 8.
Yeah.
So I wasn't wise to the business. So when he faced Hulk Hogan, and when he faced Warrior, it's like, how are they going to defeat this guy?
Yeah.
So, but the evolution of that character, I feel like he's kind of had a beat on it that he could take and evolve, because we had the Ministry of Darkness, we had the American Badass, we had the Return to the Phenom, so he's always been able to evolve his character. And I like what he does now, because he is a legend. He's protected the business for so long.
Yes.
And now he does have his podcast. This is not a knock on Michelle McCool, but I felt the chemistry I thought was better when he was with
Matt Lyda.
Yeah, when he was with Matt. I liked it better. It felt like just the guys sitting around telling stories,
Sure.
And again, not a knock on Michelle. I like Michelle, and obviously it's his wife, and he thinks obviously highly of her. I felt the chemistry was better with Matt. And
yeah, certainly. Well, and I won't disagree with that, but kind of talking a little bit about his character evolution over the years. When you were a young kid and he's facing Hogan and Warrior, and there's these big matches, he's got this very scary, presence. He's very different from everybody else. But then The Undertaker gets injured in 1994. He goes away. He's not at WrestleMania 10.
Right.
And before, all of a sudden, the $1 Million Man introduces this other Undertaker.
Yep.
He says he's found the Undertaker and he's back.
Yep.
But it's not the real Undertaker.
It's not the Undertaker.
And we get Undertaker versus Undertaker at SummerSlam in the United Center.
Yep.
The first event to ever actually take place in the United Center.
Yep.
And so then we kind of have that shift of the character. And then, with Mankind, Paul Bearer betrays him, and we kind of get another evolution of the character. And the Ministry of Darkness starts, and that's really a big step in the character. And another injury takes him out in late 99, and when he comes back in 2000, we get another evolution of the character, more than anything else, with the American Badass.
Yep.
And I do want to ask you, at the time, what did you think? You had to have thought they were crazy.
To evolve the character from, the dead, the undead or whatever, into the American Badass, which was more of an extension of Mark than anything.
Yeah.
The Mark Calloway, the man, and mixing, some of the. I can tell you, I have been in an arena when he has been like the Phenom Undertaker, and I have been in the arenas when he has been the American Badass, and it doesn't matter which one, he is electric in both. And it's the feeling when you hear, it doesn't matter if it's the gong and then you have Kid Rock or Roland, and it doesn't matter if you hear the gong and then the ominous organ music. Doesn't matter. It's still, the feeling is electric. If I had hair on my head still, it stood up.
It would stand up.
But he was, when he came into the arena, oh my God, just a feeling.
It's just something else, and you get those goosebumps.
Yes.
Which is what this business is all about. And maybe my favorite shift in The Undertaker's character is actually after the American Badass, once again, loses a buried alive match to Mr. McMahon. Kane buries his brother at Survivor Series 2003, and we start teasing the return of the dead man.
Mm-hmm.
And we wind up getting this build-up that The Undertaker himself is not part of.
Yep.
And Kane is being haunted by these things. And at WrestleMania 20, Paul Bearer is back.
Yes.
And The Undertaker as the dead man is back. And his style has evolved.
Yep.
It's changed. He's of this more MMA type style now. And he's working these better matches. And arguably the greatest stretch of his career is during this time from probably 2006 or 7 up through the end of the streak in 2014.
Yep.
And he's just having great WrestleMania match after great WrestleMania match. Batista at 23.
Oh God, yeah.
Edge at 24. Michaels at 25 and 6. Triple H at 27 and 28. Even CM Punk at WrestleMania 29. This is some of the greatest time of his career. And I think everything changed not only for the character, but from my understanding with him at WrestleMania 30. Because the thing we never thought was going to happen, he's 21-0 at WrestleMania, and Brock Lesnar breaks the streak. The Undertaker is concussed. He's not seen for a year. And we have this this shocking moment in New Orleans where you want to talk about goosebumps. Tears are flowing. The streak is over, something we never thought would happen, something that probably should have never happened. And maybe that's another avenue I want to go down with you here. Should the streak have been broken, and if it should have been, should that have been the time and place?
Well, a real quick funny story. Being as sure as I was that the streak would not get broken, my children made a bet with me. They were like, Dad, Undertaker's going to get beat this time. Brock's going to do it. And I'm like, no, he's not. No, he's not. I bet them like $100 each, and I have 3 boys. That was not a good day because I had to give up $300. That was not fun.
I believe it.
So I'm very, I don't know how to say, I'm hypocritical of myself in my answers. On one hand, if there was anybody that could beat The Undertaker, anybody that could beat the streak, it's Brock. So is it the right person? Yeah, probably. But at the same time, Brock didn't need that rub.
No.
Brock did not need that. And so I'm torn, and that's where I say I'm hypocritical, because Brock is the man that can do it, especially with the styles, the MMA and all that stuff. Brock's the guy that can do it 100%. I mean, he's not the wrong guy. But who could have used that rub a couple years later, and although he did beat him, it just didn't mean as much as Roman Reigns.
Well,
and
yeah, and something I want to touch on with Roman Reigns, if we were completely fantasy booking this and you're not taking any real world events into account, which obviously you can't really do, you can't really live like that, but ideally, looking at the streak and looking at the character of The Undertaker, the person to have beat him, ended the streak, and ended his career along with the streak, would have been not the big dog Roman Reigns, but the tribal chief Roman Reigns.
100%.
And if The Undertaker could have lasted long enough to get to that story,
yeah,
at a WrestleMania 37, 30, probably even 38, because that's in front of 102,000 people. That's Dallas. That's where Taker started. If you would have been able to do it there, I feel like that would have been the best way to end it. But even knowing what we know now, if we take everything into account, okay, he wasn't going to make it that long. He wasn't going to be able to wrestle that long. And so at WrestleMania 30, we're going to break the streak. Who should break the streak? I don't really see why you don't give it to Bray.
Bray would have been another good one. And I agree, because Undertaker even said that, he kind of passed the torch to him. And, it's unfortunate with Bray of what we don't get to have with him. But he was another one that, that torch could have been passed, and Bray could have been another one that definitely could have taken over.
Well, and two other ideas I've had before for breaking the streak, because something about Brock just doesn't sit right with me. Like you said, he's a world eater. He's this destroyer and the beast and everything. But for Brock to beat him doesn't feel quite right. At that same WrestleMania 30, you could have Brock versus Bray, and then you could have John Cena break the streak. Now, you want to talk about people getting hot. Cena was on this streak where he's beating everybody. Now he's a part-timer, and he's going to break the streak.
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily makes as much sense. I would have loved to have seen that match when Taker could go longer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's garbage that the WrestleMania match we got between them was 2 minutes long.
So Taker, he's, I think, gone on record saying that he agrees with us that his match should have gone. He was looking forward to a 20-minute match.
Yeah.
He was going to go the distance with him. But, like Vince and Cena both came to him and said, hey, no, he's been talking trash to you. You're going to come in, you're just going to mop the floor with him and be done. And it ended up being just a couple minutes. I would have liked to have seen a classic match with them. I mean,
well, and if you're gonna go back and you're going to look retrospectively at at what WrestleMania it makes the most sense for Cena to have a good long match with The Undertaker, what are you swapping out? And I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole here, but I am interested. At what WrestleMania are you doing that? And then who Cena wound up facing, what do you do with that person?
God dang. How do you... Cena's got like classic matches. I say classic, but it's classic Cena matches at Manias. It's hard to swap any of his out, and it's hard to swap anything out that Taker,
Here's what I would have done. Again, this is all 2020 hindsight. I recognize this wouldn't have been able to happen in the moment, but looking at who was available. WrestleMania 22, I think that Mark Henry doesn't need that spot, and I think you can give that to, we'll say, Cena, and then the question is, what do you do with Triple H? I think you put Triple H with Randy Orton, and then that match becomes Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio for the World Heavyweight title. So you subtract from the triple threat, you do Triple H and Orton because the evolution story's there, and then you do Taker and Cena. That would be my preference. But at 23, you could take up Batista, put Batista with Shawn, and do Cena Taker there. I could see that going either way too. There's all sorts of things to think about here.
Like you said, that's a rabbit hole of
That's
2020.
a really
coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah, that's a really deep rabbit hole, and I recognize that. One thing I do want to talk just a little bit about, though, WrestleMania 31, and this is a nice segue. The Undertaker could have had his streak broken by somebody else. Had Brock not beaten him, we could have had your number one favorite wrestler of all time, Sting. So before you get into Sting a little bit, just finish out this thought experiment with me. What's your ideal Sting Taker WrestleMania match?
Like which Mania or which?
Either which Mania or which. What would you have liked to see happen had it happened at WrestleMania 31?
Oh God.
I think the easy part is not doing it during the day. Like
yeah.
Both of their matches were.
They would have to be at night. I mean, that's a fantasy booking that should have happened at some point. Sting, being who he was, wanting to kind of stick with an underdog and go to TNA. I don't necessarily think that was a mistake for him because I loved his TNA run, but we missed a lot of prime years that he could have gone against, and had that fantasy match with The Undertaker. So if we could have had that match at 31, because I agree that Sting versus Triple H was huge on my fantasy booking list. I personally would have booked, if I could go back in time and redo this, Sting would still be there for WrestleMania 32. Sting, WrestleMania 31, goes over Triple H.
Yeah.
There's no reason he shouldn't have. So he has his first Mania, he has his moment, and I feel like that should have set up the segue to 32. Sting didn't need to have the win. Undertaker could have, defeated him there. I still feel like, although I love Triple H, Sting versus Undertaker probably would have been the better WCW versus WWE matchup.
If you're doing Sting Undertaker at 32, is it still a Hell in a Cell match?
I don't feel like that's necessary. No,
No.
I don't think there's. I really don't feel like there's a gimmick necessary. If I was going to book anything at the stage in life that they were both in, I probably really would have favored like what AJ did and have the movie set essentially.
Yeah, the cinematic match.
The cinematic match, because although I love AJ in that matchup, I think that could have been done so well with Sting and Taker. And like I said, although it wouldn't be the match that we were wanting and hoping for, I think they could have done some really cool stuff with that.
The only reason I ask about making it some form of a no DQ match between Sting and Taker is because then Sting gets to use the bat. And I mean, like, that's, I don't know, that's kind of his thing. Well, here you go. Let's go back in time. Sting jumps over with the WCW purchase, and instead of Undertaker and Albert and Big Show and Nathan Jones, we get Sting Taker at WrestleMania 19. Now that's American Badass Taker, so you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, and I think that's still. I mean, they were both. Honestly, if that's a fantasy booking that we're doing, I feel like if Sting would have come over, I feel like that we could have booked. Taker could have been convinced you got to bring back the Phenom to take this guy. You got to bring back the Phenom.
And so we're completely flipping the story.
And we're completely flipping things over because although the American Badass is a badass and him and Sting would have been phenomenal,
yeah,
I think that leading up to that, Sting should have been able to beat him. And handedly as well. And to convince Taker that you're going against him at Mania. You need an edge. You need to bring the Phenom back, and that would have been
well, and maybe kind of along the lines of, and I'm going back to something we talked about a few weeks ago. But you remember the build up to Edge and Mick Foley? How Edge said that Foley had become like this soft teddy bear, and he had to bring out the darkness inside him to become the hardcore legend again. Maybe something along those lines. And we don't know for sure. Like, it's promoted as American Badass Undertaker. And then Sting comes out first, and then we hear the gong.
Yeah.
And the Druids.
And
we get the whole spectacle and everything.
And I think that would have been, if I was fantasy booking this, that's the route I would have gone. Because, like I said, I would have had Sting defeating Taker several times prior to this, and for a best of 3 or whatever.
Sure.
Hey, we're doing this at Mania, and then having Kane or somebody to convince him you got to bring back that darkness. You got to bring back the Phenom. Mm-hmm. If you think you have a chance, you've got to bring this out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really cool idea, and that's a fun thought experiment to go down. But we do have more to talk about with Sting. Obviously, he's your number one, a big deal for you. And I do want to point out to people that Sting has been mentioned on all but one of our episodes. Sting has never been the focus of any of our episodes, but Colt subconsciously has brought up Sting one way or another every single time. So if that doesn't tell you how easy it is to pick him as number one, he'll try to tell you that this is not an easy decision for him. It's the easiest thing on the planet.
I do feel like Sting was probably the easiest one. Like we talked last week, I had a pretty easy time in my top 4. I mean, it was pretty easy. It's a little bit like, oh, which one do I put in, first? Between Triple H and Sting, I could go back and forth depending on the day. But ultimately, it's probably Sting, which I have been a fan of Sting since I can remember. Some of the first wrestlers that I ever remember seeing is, obviously Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Sting. Those were the first 3 that are ingrained in my head. And then, shortly after, it's Macho Man. And but these guys stuck out in my head as larger than life characters. And so when I first got to see Sting, it was the blonde flat top.
Sure.
It was Surfer Sting, and so that was my introduction into the Stinger. And something about the face paint has always intrigued me. Between Warrior and Sting, obviously. But Sting, like I said, I was super young. I remember we used to have a store outside town called Pomida, and I remember wrestling figures being up on the wall and picking up the Sting figure.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I can get an action figure of him. It was just, just a little one. I think it was the kind of like WCW's Galoob version. It was the LJN version, so they were a little rubbery. They just stayed one pose.
Yep.
So
Do you still have that figure?
I still have that figure. Yeah. So there's very few figures I don't still have of Sting. They're a little beat up and roughed up a little bit, played with condition.
Yeah.
So I have gotten some replacements over the years. But I still have my original figures. But, that was one of the first ones. I wanted the large LJ and Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior and stuff. Never could find the darn things. I did find Junkyard Dog. That was that was one that I found.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I still have that one or not somewhere in the house, but I did have Junkyard Dog. Years later, I found a Hogan, but Sting. He, first one that really, I don't, So me being a fan of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and so seeing this guy jacked, similar to Warrior, blonde flat top and face paint, and he was facing like Ric Flair, Big Van Vader. He had phenomenal matches, and when I was a kid, it wasn't always necessarily about the match for me. It was stories and again, these characters. He was so for me. When I was a kid, I got into the band Kiss, which
I've heard about it.
You've heard about it a time or two. The thing that drew me to Kiss was going through my mom's record collection and flipping through, and it's like, what is this? It was the Destroyer album.
Yeah. So we have your mom to blame?
We have mom to blame, because I'm like, what is this? They are literally jumping off the record at you. And I'm like, what are they? They look like they're from a comic book. I have no idea what the hang is going on. And so then you turn on the music and God of Thunder, and I'm going, this is the greatest thing ever. So it's something about the face paint has always drawn me to them, like comic books and stuff. So, Sting being this larger than life comic book like character, his accolades are, I have 2 pages of stuff, and this barely touches, I think, what he actually has. I think the only promotion he didn't win a title in was WWE.
And he only had 4 matches.
And he only has 4 matches. Did he win 2 of them in WWE, or just the one?
I think he won 2.
Because I know one of them was with the tag team with Cena, but he didn't win his singles, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. He won something against Big Show. Was that a tag match?
Had to be.
Yeah.
Had to be. But he is a WWE Hall of Famer. He's class of 2016. Won the Slammy Award 2 times. Wrestling Observer Newsletter, he won Match of the Year, Most Charismatic, Most Improved, Best Babyfaced. World Wrestling All-Stars, he won the WWA World Heavyweight title 1 time. Universal Wrestling Federation, he won the tag titles. TNA, he won the NWA World Heavyweight title, the TNA World Heavyweight title, TNA World Tag Team title with Kurt Angle, and he is in the TNA Hall of Fame as of 2012. Most Inspirational Wrestler of the Year in 2007. Match of the Year versus Kurt Angle at Bound for Glory in 2007, and Match of the Year 2009 versus AJ Styles at Bound for Glory.
And so far, you've just covered like his less impressive stuff. Like this isn't even getting to the page of accomplishments that made his name.
Yeah, then we'd move on to Jim Crockett and WCW, which that's where he spent, making his name. NWA World Heavyweight title, the WCW World Heavyweight Championship 6 times, WCW International World Heavyweight Championship, United States Heavyweight Championship, NWA Television Champion, tag team champion 3 times, once with Luger, once with the Giant, once with Nash, Battle Bowl, Battle Royal champion.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. European Cup, Iron Man tournament. I mean, and the list literally still goes on. I'm not even going to try to read them all off to you. But he did end his career in AEW, and he won the World Tag Team Championship with Darby Allin, and he finished his career as a World Tag Team Champion with Darby. He finished it off at... I can't think what's the...
Revolution.
Revolution.
Tell us a little bit about this picture we've got on screen right now. How cool was it for you as a fan of Sting your whole life to get to see his kids out there in the different versions and getting to finish his career with Darby and against the Bucks?
For one, his sons there, I was extremely envious of his kids getting to dress up as him, and those were his original tights jackets from NWO Wolfpack.
Oh, those aren't replicas?
Those are not replicas. Those are his original suits that the kids got to wear. Yeah, super envious of them, and I think that would have been phenomenal because now I don't know if both boys were trying, but I think it's Garrett is Wolfpack Sting. He has moved on, and he is working in AEW as a wrestler now, using actually Tony paid to have Sting's original music used.
Yeah, I heard about that. The other thing I want to point out about this, and we don't talk a ton about AEW on this show just because neither of us are terribly up on the product. I did watch this match when it happened. When Sting's entrance starts, and you see the first kid come out as Surfer Sting, I almost felt like a time machine had opened up. Like,
yes.
I that looks like 91 Sting.
Yes.
Like,
and they, I mean, for one, they are his offspring, so they do have a very good resemblance. But his son actually went and lost quite a bit of weight to portray him. He's a power lifter.
Oh, really?
They both lift, but I think he does more powerlifting, and so he lost quite a bit of weight so that way he could look the part better. And like I said, I'm very envious. It was definitely a moment of nostalgia when they came out, and then being paired with Darby, I was very jealous and envious of Darby as well because it's like, God, that's the position I always wanted. I wanted to be the guy that was tagging with him and working with him and having him as a kind of like a mentor and whatnot.
Well, never say never,
You never say never, but I'm pretty sure at 43 I'm not going to have that opportunity.
You don't think so? You don't think you got one more in you?
I got a couple in me. I'm not so much sure that he does with his retirement.
He's accepting bookings, folks.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, anytime, absolutely.
Yeah. A ton of fun with Sting, obviously, and I feel the need to bring this up, and I can also feel your anger before I even say it. We did mention the WWE run a little bit, and so we do kind of, I feel, have to talk about the match with Seth Rollins. You like Seth.
I love Seth Rollins. I love Seth freaking Rollins. I think he is freaking awesome. I hate Seth in Sting's match. And now to premise why I hate him in this match. Again, I love Seth freaking Rollins. I think he's phenomenal. I love his character. I love the guy behind the scenes. Seems really cool.
Sure.
His work ethic and everything is phenomenal, and he's got one hang of a hot wife, Becky Lynch.
Yep.
But in the match, at the time, he was doing the buckle bomb.
Yes, he was.
And he performed one buckle bomb, and at the time, it's like, okay, this is an accident. Shit happens. It happens, and that's okay. Sting was able to bring it back, got feeling back in his feet and his hands, and able to continue the match. And for some stupid reason, he decides to do a second buckle bomb. Oh, you didn't think the first one was a great idea? Let's see if we can't paralyze it. Why do a second buckle bomb? The first one obviously didn't work out so great. Real life for Sting. So let's do a second one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that was the most idiotic, stupid thing that I thought he could possibly do.
If I could finish my question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, sorry, you felt the heat.
I felt the heat. Had Sting not gotten injured, where do you think he chooses to retire? Does he still go to AEW or does he retire in WWE earlier? Do you think AEW was sort of compensating for the fact that he did not get to finish his career the way he wanted to?
I would say yes. I would say so. I will go back because I do think he felt like he was good in WWE.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of years, a lot of, didn't know if he'd be utilized correctly, and I don't think he was.
That's clear.
Albeit later in his career, I think the match versus Seth. Now, I don't know behind the scenes. I don't know if he was supposed to win that night. I don't know if they called an audible and said, "Hey, something's not right. We're just going to let Seth keep it." Sting should have won the title that night. He should have won his WrestleMania match. Mm-hmm. He should have won his WrestleMania match. He should have won the title that night. Give it back to Seth. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I think Sting deserved and should have earned the title at least one time in WWE. So, having to wrap up his career because he didn't want to take the chances and getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, I think he was content. I think he was fine. Tony Khan, being a huge fan of the old territories, being a huge fan of early WCW and early days, he was, like me, a big fan of Sting. Tony Khan, to my knowledge, approached him and said, "Hey, we would like to have you in AEW, would like to have you wrap up a run doing things kind of the right way." Sting was adamant that he didn't really want to have a match at the start, but he could do the cinematic type matches, which I think was his first one or two matches with him. They did a cinematic type match.
Well, yeah, because that was also the era that they were doing that.
Well, yeah, because it was COVID and everything else.
You would know better than I would. Was the match with Seth his last singles match?
Yes.
He didn't have one in AEW?
No.
Do you wish that he would have? Even because I thought in the build-up, I thought surely we're building to Sting Darby and Sting puts Darby over.
That would have been a good match.
But the problem is that Sting would have had to go through a glass pane and take a tack bump.
Yeah, Sting was not going to take... I don't think... I mean, the stuff that he did do was enough. I mean, my God.
Kind of wild.
And then I was watching Darby on CVV, and everybody did not want Darby to do the spot that he did.
I don't know why he did.
So in his explanation of it was he needed a way to get out of the match to let Sting have his moment.
And the only believable way that Darby can be out of the match is by going through a pane of glass off a ladder.
In his mind, that was the believable moment. And nobody else can kind of convince this guy. I mean, watching and listening to Darby, I mean, he does it all for himself. He does not care. He wants the spots because he's like, Tony says that certain things are off limits. You know, Tony's kind of reeling him in a little bit, but he's like, even the fans don't really care to see. I do what I do for me. That's what Darby said in CVV. Check out that interview. That's a good one.
He should have just taken the Shane bump off the stage, and that you could write him off that way. That was a safer bump to fall from 50 feet to the ground.
He doesn't care if it's a safer bump. Darby, he wants as extreme as you can get. But regardless, the closest thing I think we had to anything with a singles match for Sting was at the end of the match where Darby got taken out and Sting had to continue the match. But as far as I am aware, which I am 99.9% sure, the last singles match Sting ever had was against Seth.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Are there, before we move on to my number one, this wraps up your list of your top 5 wrestlers. Is there any closing thoughts that you have about Sting? I know that there's a 900-page book you could write
I
about your
say,
thoughts
how
on
long
Sting.
do you want to have this
But,
video?
But just in closing, what do you think sums up why you are a fan of Sting?
He has evolved throughout the years. So when Sting went to Crow, the Crow look, even my dad knew how big of a Sting fan I was, and Sting was on the news for this. So our local news. So my dad knew. I mean, he watched wrestling with me, and he knew my love for Sting and everything. And so I remember coming home one night. I don't remember where we were at, but he's like, you got to check this out. You know, Sting's on here. And that was one of the first times I remember, because I didn't have cable growing up or anything. Mm-hmm. So I was one of those that I could buy the VHS of the pay-per-views.
Yep.
And I could pick up the magazines, which I religiously did, to find out what happened.
Sure.
It wasn't until later on in like high school, went to a friend's house, and we ordered pay-per-views and food and stuff. So we all pitched in and were able to do that. But so that was my first, finding out Sting had the Crow paint was my coming home, Dad showing me on the news. It's like, whoa, this is different. So from the evolution to the black and white to the red and black, which red and black, Bulldog colors for us here at HD. My senior year, I did the red and black face paint.
I've seen that picture.
So I did the red and black face paint for our homecoming game for football, and it did not all come off. I legit used paint, and I had some officials saying, because it didn't come off very well, but had the red and black. Like I said, the evolution of Sting throughout the years. I've met him twice. Met him in Kansas City once, and he was so awesome to me and my son. And then I met him again here just this last year when he wrapped up his farewell tour. And one of the nicest guys you will absolutely ever meet. Took his time, talked with me, signed some of my stuff. I'm still hoping to get some kind of maybe an interview or something, or just to be able to talk to him again. But yeah, Sting, I have just whatever it was that initially drew me to him when I was a kid, it like latched on and has never let go. If I'm watching old wrestling, I'm watching old Surfer Sting matches.
Sure.
I'm watching anything Sting. But I like to go back and watch the AWA, NWA, old WCW and stuff like that of Sting. So that's. Yeah, just whatever it was that initially drew me to him, it's still there to this day.
Well, and talking about Sting, obviously he was in TNA in the mid 2000s, and that's almost a controversial decision to not go with WWE at that time. Perhaps more controversial is actively leaving WWE to go to TNA, which. Very few people did, but the one guy who really made it work is my number one, and that's Kurt Angle. You want to talk about a guy who is accomplishments out the wazoo. Obviously, everybody knows that in 1996 he won an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck. Everybody knows that Kurt Angle was an NCAA Division I All-American 3 years in a row, 1990, 1991, and 1992. NCAA Division I heavyweight champion in 1990 and 1992. A member of the George Tragos Luthez Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2012. That's just over here in Waterloo.
Just down the road.
Just down the road, which if you haven't been, you should go check it out. I hear they've got some lifetime memberships and that sort of thing.
They got some really cool stuff.
They got some cool stuff there.
And you should just check out the museum. It is phenomenal.
It is a really cool place if you're a wrestling fan.
Absolutely.
You're in the Waterloo, Iowa area. That's really people drive from all over the country to go there.
They do. It's the roots of wrestling are deep.
The roots of absolutely. I mean, the NWA was formed in Waterloo.
Yeah.
The Hotel President, which is now like a retirement home, in 1948. Going to go back even further, Farmer Brown in the early 1900s, writing the physical book on wrestling out of the Humboldt area. Frank Gotch, is from the area. So anyway, wrestling has roots here, and the museum is a nice place. Kurt Angle, member of that, 6-time TNA World Heavyweight Champion, X Division Champion, World Tag Champion, member of the TNA Hall of Fame, and obviously in WWE, a 4-time WWE Champion, a 1-time WCW Champion, 1-time World Heavyweight Champion, Intercontinental, European, Hardcore, WCW United States, a Tag Team Champion, the King of the Ring, and a member of the WWE Hall of Fame as well. So much good to say about Kurt Angle. And I think what's very interesting to me about his story is obviously he did win an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck. He did wind up deciding to come to pro wrestling. He turned down an offer originally to come to the WWF. Wound up checking out ECW. Didn't like that. And wound up coming back to the WWF to get something worked out, and he did. And guys that come from the world of amateur wrestling, generally speaking, their focus is on the craft of wrestling. And there's not a ton of personality there a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle somehow managed to be the greatest technical wrestler of his time. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, be one of the most entertaining people to on the mic in backstage segments. He could make fun of himself. He was willing to do whatever it took. And he was also the face, like a guy who can be so funny in one respect and then be the literal face and embodiment of intensity in another it's the 3 I's, right?
Yep.
Intensity, integrity, and intelligence.
Yep.
When he's got the black mouth guard and the bald head, and he comes out with the straps down and the world title, and the pyro goes off. That is not a guy I want to get in a fight with.
No.
I don't care how wrong he is. I will say I'm wrong to avoid a fight with Kurt Angle. This is just a guy who is real in every way. And in a business where you're trying to convince people that you're real and that this is real, Kurt Angle can do it any day of the week. And he's the perfect bridge and balance for me between what it means to be a pro wrestler as on the sports side and the entertainment side. And making this list, I didn't realize until I started to kind of put things in perspective that Kurt was even going to be on the list, let alone that he'd be my number one. But who does it better? Who is more of the poster child for the physicality of wrestling and the entertainment of wrestling than Kurt Angle?
It's few and far between, and it's, his road to success was not a straight shot. So
not at all.
Like you talked, he initially had an offer from WWE. They wanted to capitalize on his popularity.
They did.
And he was coming in at a time when legit wrestlers really frowned upon pro wrestling because they knew it wasn't their wrestling. It's a show. It is entertainment. Right. That's why they call it WWE now.
Yeah.
Kurt had to be wizened up to the business because he had to understand that it is a show. And once he saw that, it opened his eyes and he's like, I can have so much fun with this, because he still had the physicality, because the things that he was able to do, my God, the moonsaults that the man could do off the top of a cage. And
insane.
He, throwing Shane through the glass at King of the Ring, and the things that he was able to do and that are marks in history on him. Austin, one of his segments was the beer truck. He had Kurt with the milk truck,
yep.
which I thought was genius. It was so good. But having that legit background, having a legit Olympic champion coming into WWE, like I said, a lot of people frowned upon that, and they talked down to him about it, and they didn't want him to do it. And it was it was until he got his eyes open up, because he's like, I could take any of these guys. I could. Well, yeah, no kidding. You can take, but let's tell these stories. And then he started immersing himself in it and went, wow. And the stories he could tell. I actually met Kurt as well. And Kurt, another great guy. If you ever had the chance to meet him, he is phenomenal. And we talk about how much trouble I have putting together a list.
Yeah.
He's another one. So if I could open up the top 10, I mean, easily your list is combining with mine.
Sure.
Kurt Angle being up there. But he is such a phenomenal person, phenomenal athlete, seamlessly moving into, pro wrestling and being able to do the moves like a lot of guys. I think JBL and others were go on record for how seamless he was able to make the transition. Yeah. He is one of the fastest to catch on to stuff because of his athletic.
He got it.
He understood. But he had to be wisened up to that idea. But the athletic side of it was just cake to him. I mean, so easy for him to take. And so he was able to make that, so he turned him down the first time because he was told to, wanted to come back because there's nothing really after Olympic, you tour for a year.
Sure.
There's nothing for you. So he tried broadcasting. He tried some other stuff. It didn't work out. Calls up WWE and says, hey, maybe I screwed up. Is there any way? Well, things have died down with you. Now you're going to have to come in the old school way. Because he thought he was just going to come in and take the big contract that they were offering. And nope, now you have to come in the right way.
You got to come in and work for it.
And he did. I mean, he just, boom. He was so quick and probably one of the fastest. I think they went on record saying he's the fastest one to go from getting, brought in to, okay, you're on the main roster now, because he was so quick to pick it all up.
Yeah. Well, and somewhere, I know this exists somewhere. I've never seen it personally. I haven't been able to find it on YouTube, and I'm probably going to make an ass of myself now. I'm sure it's out there now. But if you have the video of Kurt Angle's, one of his training matches against Owen Hart, please, for the love of God, send it to us, because
Can't find it?
Kurt Angle, Owen Hart. No.
Oh.
No. Have you seen it?
I know I've seen it.
You've seen it?
I think I've seen it. I say I know, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just losing my mind here. But
we'll have to go.
Kurt, I mean, put that in like a main event storyline at any point in either one of their careers.
You know what would have been a really good match? They should have had a legit match between Brock and Kurt. I mean, that would have been fun.
That wouldn't have ended well for either one of them.
No, but that would have been fun. But Brett.
Well, he tried to get Brett for WrestleMania 18.
Yeah.
And that probably would have been better than Kane. Yeah.
But that would have been.
Oh my God! Can you imagine if your guy Goldberg hadn't killed Bret Hart, then we could have gotten Kurt and Bret at WrestleMania. My goodness, what a fun time that would have been. In Toronto, of all places.
I'm not disagreeing.
Oh.
Especially when the American hero went over.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I think that's all I've got to say about Kurt Angle. We've talked about Sting. We've talked about The Undertaker. Those are the top of our list. And now here we are, the end of season 1 of Between the Ropes. Next week, we're going to come back, different things, different format changes. We don't want to let the cat out of the bag too early.
No, we're not letting the cat out of the bag, but we do have some...
We've got some very interesting changes coming to the podcast.
Yep.
You're going to notice visual differences in what we're talking about, who we're talking to, and all that sort of stuff. And
hopefully a change of scenery.
Hopefully a change of scenery.
Things are in the works, so we're
working on it. We're
hoping.
We might move a few steps down the hall to a different studio. Could you imagine?
I can imagine. My imagination has been going a little wild with it. That's
the
problem. That's the problem with it.
Golly. Imagine if we had a sign.
Sign.
We've got a sign.
We got a sign.
It's not a very good sign.
No, it's not. That's the humble beginnings.
This is the humble beginning. This represents what we are now and what we could be. Someday we're going to have a printed sign. Could you imagine?
Printed?
Printed with ink.
Oh my.
This is
Oh my.
technically this is ink.
Technically.
It's not cursive, so I guess it is also print. So
Can we say anything about what we hopefully have in the works? I mean, can we say anything about
we will have a new logo next week. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to have a new logo.
Can we talk about if there's going to be just us or?
You know, we are looking at getting some interviews next season, and we can't disclose it all yet.
We can't disclose.
No,
but we can. Can we disclose that we're?
We will be doing a couple of interviews. We're working on it.
It is a work in progress, but the future of Between the Ropes, I would say, is very bright.
I would agree, and I'm holding this sign like this because this is the end of this Between the Ropes. This paper with the marker on it, this studio with no background, this format. This is the end of this iteration of Between the Ropes. And
You're
next
stuck with
week,
us, though.
You are stuck with us. And next week, you're going to see a lot of visual changes and a lot of things are going to be different. And so, as we tear up Season 1 of Between the Ropes.
Oh, my God.
Violent of me, I know.
Well,
that's memorabilia.
That was memorabilia.
Yeah.
You know, that was going to go into the vault.
That was going to go into the vault. Well, you know, we can tape it up like the hardcore title. We can do that. Anyway, as we close out this season, we do want to thank everybody for being along with us for the ride.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be doing a Season 2 if Season 1 hadn't gone so well. And so hopefully some of these changes bring in even more viewers, which allows us to do even more with our content. And if you're a professional wrestling fan, like we are, talk to us.
Make
do
comments.
what you can.
Yeah. We need comments. We want to know what you want to see.
Yeah, we do.
You know, if there's realistically, if there's any guests you think we could try and get a hold of, I mean, let us know.
Here's an interesting thought. I just had this idea now. What if we did an interview with wrestling fans? What if we were able to get a wrestling fan on the show and talk to them about who some of their favorites are? I mean,
I think we should do that as well.
You think that's a good idea?
I've got some people in mind that we could get.
You know some wrestling fans?
Yeah.
You've met some?
Yeah. I've met
They're
some.
closeted these days. It's hard to It's hard to find a public wrestling fan.
Oh. I haven't had that trouble, so I'm sorry.
I didn't know if we were gonna have to blur the voice or blur the face and make the voice deeper so that way they can be anonymous.
If we were gonna do that, don't you think we should have done that by now?
We don't care what we look like. We don't care. It doesn't matter.
What are you talking about? I care a lot about what I look like. It's all about, how vain I am and.
Well, that I believe. But yeah, hopefully next week is a good change of pace for us, and we are able to bring back Between the Ropes better than ever. So, for Colt Powers, I've been Hunter Dietz, and this has been the end of Season 1 of Between the Ropes.